It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to the realm of geekdom. This is nerd breaking news. Today, we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals, so we can go ahead and catch up with all of you guys what's been going on in the playoffs. But first, like, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss an episode. And of course, don't forget to check us out on YouTube and on Spotify. Those links will be down below. So let's go ahead and start it off with Eagle. Tell us, what do you think about the playoffs right now, where everybody has been eliminated, and we have two standing, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers.
Well, this has been an interesting playoff to begin with. Maybe Oklahoma was meant to be in the finals for the West, taking into account that they had a great young team, talented team, and they were number one in the regular season, beating everybody and just making strides compared to last year, where we thought that they had talent, but they weren't ready yet. So on that side, I think no surprises. But on the other side, we have the Indiana Pacers, and led by Tyrese Halliburton and obviously Pascal Siakam. I see you, Professor. Don't get too excited. This is just facts. Just facts. But we have to state the obvious as well. The East is not as strong as we thought, but maybe that everybody knew that, and it was just a surprise that we saw the Knicks and the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes, kid, it was a surprise, to be completely honest. To me, this playoffs have very very different stories, right? Like Jason Tatum went down. We wouldn't be talking about the Knicks if Jason Tatum doesn't get injured, right? Like that's just how it is. I don't think that the Knicks would have went through. And then we don't talk about the Pacers because I really think that the Celtics would have made it to the NBA Finals. Now, OKC versus Celtics, I still have to take the Celtics, to be completely honest. So it's just sad that injuries can derail a team like that. And then, the same happened with the Milwaukee Bucks, but the Milwaukee had more deeper troubles than that. And, it just shows that in year two, the trade for Damian Lillard wasn't the best, right? And now we're talking about whether Giannis is going to leave Milwaukee or not, whether he wants to stay. And maybe he wants to stay because the realm of the NBA is not showing any interest in trading, a lot of players and a lot of picks for Giannis at this point. Or maybe Giannis just signs a 2-year deal where it's just a max and he's a free agent in 2 more years. And maybe that's where teams are going to be looking for him. But still, a lot of expectations for the Bucks, and they just didn't, they couldn't do it.
And so what about the actual playoffs, though? Let's actually talk about the playoffs, because that's what we're trying to talk. And it sounds like you're trying to make the Pacers sound like they got there by luck, and actually not by their talent. So let's go ahead and look at those concepts instead of talking about like Milwaukee and stuff like that.
Well, Takachi, thank you so much for bringing that up, because that was exactly my point at the end. I don't want to say by luck. At the end of the day, you have to win games and you have to come up big in big moments. And we've seen it throughout the playoffs, right? Like the Pacers did it to the Knicks. They did it to the Cavaliers, which I was surprised to see them in that position. But if you ask people and you ask like, okay, is the Pacers a talented team? I mean, they're not the most talented team. Now, do they have heart? They have gritty, and are they a young team that basically showed up when it was needed? They did, but we can cover this up with one figure. Like we can. Like the East is just horrible. Have you put the Pacers on the West? This doesn't happen. I'm sorry. They would have lost to the Thunder, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Lakers, every single team in the
Wouldn't that
East
same
that made it to the
argument be
playoffs
said?
would have
Like,
literally
wouldn't that
destroyed
same
them. And that's
argument be the
exactly
same
what's
for any
going
team,
on.
though?
So listen, maybe I'm a little bit bitter for different reasons. I don't think that the Pacers deserve to be in the NBA Finals. If anything, I don't think this is something that they can do again next year with the same team. Okay, I don't think it's going to happen for different reasons. I think that some teams in the East are going to, they're going to learn. They're going to learn. They're going to be healthy again, and it's not going to be the same path for the Pacers now. Props to them. 2 Eastern Conference Finals, okay, straight. But it's just I don't think they're a good enough team, to be completely honest. I'm not gonna give them any credit. Um, it is what it is. Go OKC in 4, man. The rest of the way. That's it.
All right, so let's actually hear the counter then, because there was a lot of bias in that one. So, Professor, let's go ahead and hear your
The
point of view,
hate
since we
in
know
the
that, yeah.
the hate in the Eagles' heart is powerful. If a team shows they've done something last year and they did it again this year, we're gonna stop and say, "Oh, there's no way they do it again the year after." It's the East. If there's one thing we know about the East, if you have a trend of winning, that trend typically continues unless some cosmic thing happens to ruin your team. Like what's about to happen to the Celtics during this offseason where they have to trade away some players while other players
Mhm.
are injured. That team is done. That's one point to consider. When you're looking at the Pacers, you have to ask yourself, who's going to prevent this team from getting there again next year? There are only 2 other teams in the East that are even worth talking about, and that's the Knicks and the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers are about to lose, I think his name's Ty Jerome. So one of their best scorers is about to be out. That's going to hurt. And supposedly they might even lose Darius Garland in a trade. So there's that piece. Then you have the Knicks, the coachless Knicks. The Knicks are in such a bad spot right now. They're even turning on Karl Anthony Towns, who didn't even do anything wrong.
Yeah, he
There
did.
was
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Knicks fan. So
No,
there you
no, no
go. The
defense.
Knicks
There
fan
was
base
no
is
defense
turned on Karl
whatsoever.
Anthony Towns. You know he's an emotional
No, we
dude.
all watched that game, though. That there was
Thank
no
you.
defense whatsoever
Thank you.
from him, because he literally left it open, quite honestly.
Let's be clear about something though. When we bring on certain players, we know exactly who they are. Have we ever seen Karl
Mhm.
Anthony Towns play defense? No. So why are we surprised by this? If Karl Anthony Towns is on your team, you know good and dang well you need somebody else under that basket. He's gonna let everybody in there every single time. He didn't show you anything that you didn't already know. But you know what team does have good interior defense? The Pacers. And that's why they're where they are right now. When you're looking at the Pacers, the issue with their team is most people have no idea who's on that roster because this season, ESPN did a very bad job at talking about who is on the roster for the small market teams. You have Miles Turner, who's had that same job his entire career. He knows exactly how to protect the paint for his team. And then you have Pascal Siakam right next to him. That team has Miles Turner and Siakam. And people stop and say, "Oh, there's no way they can win." Bro, you take one of those 2 guys and you add them to whatever team you root for, and your circumstances are going to dramatically improve. As a matter of fact, what would the Kings look like if they had Miles Turner or Pascal
The
Siakam
exact
right now?
probably they would be worst. I'll tell you that.
No, bro, that come cap. So we have that. Then at the same time, too, when you're looking at the Pacers, you got that Matherin guy who's not as good as Halliburton, but as a duo, they work together very, very well. Then you look at their bench. You got TJ McConnell, who's basically going to die in that jersey. He's always in the Pacers. So you got that piece. They also have Thomas Bryant, who's a survivor of LeBron James's hazing. So he understands how to play on the championship level. You have Obi Toppin, former Knicks player, who once he got to the Pacers, all of a sudden now he's doing a little bit of something. He's showing you a little bit of something. You also have Andrew Nemhard as well and Ben Shepherd. When you're looking at their roster is they easily have, what is that, 8 people who can mess you up any given night. That team is deep. And the thing is, when you're looking at their matchup with OKC, a point to consider is that for OKC, no lead they have is safe. Until they're up about 20 points, you're watching that game like, they could still lose. So the reality of the Pacers is we could argue that OKC is a better team, sure. Well, that's a welcome argument. But we can't say the Pacers aren't close. Because what they've shown you is they can take those leads away from that team with some good disciplined offense and defense. And the reason why they can is because in that series, they have the best coach. And that's the piece of this that I think a lot of people are missing. The coach for the Pacers is very prepared to match up with OKC. Now, could the Pacers still lose? Yeah, they could. But let's not make it sound like they don't belong there. That's a bit intense.
So let's
I
go
think
to
the Eagles
hear
upset.
from the other side then, because I know the kid has a lot to say about Oklahoma. We've only been talking about the Pacers. So, kid, let's do a real quick recap of what Oklahoma brings to the playoffs since our time is starting to get short.
Yeah. Before I do that, I just gotta do this for just for the Carl Anthony Towns. We don't know about that, but anyways,
Obi Toppin does.
Yeah. Anyways, now we talk about my beloved Knicks after story. I think we're being disingenuous. I think Jay puts a little rosy cake on the Pacers. Yeah, no, I can say that they're trash. They won game one by luck. I think you missed a very important point. They didn't put Hartenstein, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Chet at the same time, and the coach admitted that was the fault for game one where they lost. They admitted that was a huge identity that didn't go by in the NBA Finals in game one. That's why they lost. Game two, like you just said right now, that they just saved. No. They were blowing them out in game one. They took out these two dudes. They didn't put them in the same court, and they came back to Indiana's credit. I got to give them credit on that. What happened in game two? No.
You got waxed.
The lead was safe. We're good. We saw it because these two dudes covered the defense, and Chet finally came to play. SGA is averaging over 30 points a game. But by the way, shout out to D'Angelo. He's about to call it the series. He called the MVP. He called everybody. Much love to our boy. No, this series is over, and I just think that we talk too much Pacers here. We don't represent the Indiana Pacers out here. We got to give them credit. They went to 2 conference finals years in a row, but at the same time, that doesn't matter unless you get a ring. It doesn't matter. That's cool.
Unless you're a LeBron fan.
You did it. Awesome. Great. What's the next step? And now you're seeing in the NBA Finals, their best player, quote unquote, Tyrese Halliburton, wet the bed. The guy's averaging less than 20 points per game in the NBA Finals. The other guy, the real star, SGA, is cleaning him up. And the one thing that we're not acknowledging here is that OKC is a loaded team. Defensively, bench, coach, offense, better starting 5. Well, you made a great argument for Miles Turner. I think that's the most anybody has talked about Miles Turner in the last 5 years. Nobody should be talking about Miles Turner objectively. And I just think this series is over. It's been over. And I don't want it to be. I'm not rooting for OKC. I'm not rooting for Indiana Pacers. I couldn't care less about either one of them. But there's a reason why game one was the lowest rated finals in the last 20 years. It's not exciting. It's whatever. We all know the conclusion. We got the script before. SGA is going to win. OKC is going to win. So while Jay made compelling arguments, you missed that very important strategy that they messed up in game one. They're not going to do that again for the rest of the series. They stopped Ant-Man. They stopped the great Nikola Jokic. And they stopped all these people by that 2-strategy big man thing that nobody could do that. And the bench is loaded. There's no way Pacers are going to win. And then you guys were mentioning the East. That's for the summer for us to discuss, right? A lot of trades, a lot of this. I don't care about that. I care about it's going to be tomorrow is going to be 2-1. It's going to be 4-1, and Raul's going to be happy, and then Tyrese Halliburton is going to be forgotten about next year.
Thank God.
So like we see, the Pacers got here. They built up. They've had a Cinderella story. Let's see if that continues to be the case here in the finals against the Thunder, who have literally gone the gauntlet. And they are literally the best team out there right now. So it's 1-1, tied up. Boys, who do you pick winning it all? Oklahoma City or Pacers? Just tell me the team. Kid.
Thunder in 5.
Professor.
Thunder in 7.
Eagle.
Jesus Christ. Thunder in 5.
I'm actually going to say Pacers in 7. But till then, guys, thank you for tuning in. Whether you decide to pick the Thunder or you're picking the Pacers, let us know down in the comments. Tell us why. Tell us 5 games, 4 games, 6 games, whatever. Tell us what you think. We want to hear from you guys. But keep your fandom alive and your warp drive engaged. Until next time, fellow nerds, this was Nerd Breaking News.